Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for the invitation to speak today about courage. So my name is Andreea. I come from Romania. I moved to Switzerland almost 7 years ago together with my husband and my daughter. My husband received a job offer here, so we decided to move. I've been a corporatist all my life, and 1.5 years ago, I decided I want to change that. And I wanted to take a little bit 3 years back. It's okay? Or yeah? Okay. I had a dream to paraglide, and I always wanted to paraglide, but I never really did anything about it. So I thought that the most easiest way to do it was to start giving signals to my husband to help me. So I was sending signals for several months by the time he finally got it. And he makes me a surprise and book a paraglide hour on my name. And then I started to panic because I really wanted to fly, but the event was there. I had the hour, the date, the person I supposed to fly with, and I was really, really scared. So the day with the schedule comes, and we're driving to Flint, where I supposed to fly. And everything that I remember from that driving was that I was very quiet. I'm a person who speaks a lot, and that didn't happen that day. And I think that was because I was scared. We reached the cable car station where two guys are waiting for me, and there was a old man, late 50s, very speaking very loud and laughing a lot. So it was very exuberant. And then was a very young guy, I think it was like 20, 20 something, very was looking like the kind of punk and cool guy, but he was very calm and very quiet. I started to panic again, and I really wanted, in my mind, I choose the old one to be the one I will be flying with. Somehow, being older inspired me more confidence. Even then, if I think now, I didn't imagine that maybe the old guy just started flying yesterday, while the 20 years old was flying since was 5. But back then, that was more confident to me. It was not the case. I was planned to fly with the youngest one, and I panicked again. And that was a moment when I wanted to go home and just say that I don't want to fly anymore. But I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how just to disappear from that moment and just go home. I said goodbye to my daughter and my husband. I told my daughter that mommy loves you. Uh, and I didn't realize that I apparently told that mommy loves you many times that day because she was very pissed and very upset. Why the hell you continue telling me that you love me? I know that you love me. Um, so we start climbing with the gondola up on the mountain, and I start asking him questions like since when you fly, how well, how good are you doing it? Do you like it? And surprisingly, he was very well prepared to all my questions. I guess I was not the first crazy lady flying for the first time and asking him a lot of things. So we reached the top of the mountain, and there like a lot of people taking photos and sharing the emotion and the fears with the ones that are preparing to fly. Um, and we prepare, we are almost to take off, and he's asking me, do you have a special life insurance, right? Like, of course I have a life insurance, but what do you mean by special? It's like, in case something happens today. So that was another moment when I panicked and I wanted to go away, but all the equipment was already on. So we signed a life insurance, and we start flying. And what is nice, at least for people like me who are very afraid of that moment, when you start flying is you cannot really run with the paraglide attached on you much longer. So the mountain is like this, and on one moment you just lift your legs up and you're flying. And that really happened. On the moment when I realized that I'm not touching the ground anymore, I had the most beautiful moment of my life. Was kind of the best freedom feeling I had, and I tried to replicate that many times after that moment when I was flying, and I couldn't get the same intensity of it. The flight took almost 1 hour, but it felt like 5 minutes because it was just wonderful to be up there and have a gorgeous landscape in front of me, and everything was just breathtaking. Actually, more breathtaking was the moment when I almost dropped my mobile while taking to take a picture. Luckily, that didn't happen. Um, After I landed, being with the feet again on the ground felt differently. The fear was still there, but I wanted to do it again. So this year I already have scheduled few flights and I'm gonna fly more and more because I really like it. Um, so taking you back to what I do, as I said, I've been a corporatist of my life. And during my career in finance, I was fortunate enough to work for several multinational organizations, to hold several positions and meet people coming from the entire world. Some people are still my friends now, even I'm not in the corporate life anymore. This environment was very challenging and fulfilling, but somehow I was missing something. I didn't know what. I just knew that I have to change something. So I made the choice. Um, I always had goals on the paper. I call them paper goals. And I wanted the perfect life. I wanted to have a great career, to have a safe job. Half of my friends were unemployed from the moment I was wishing that. Entrepreneurship or having my own company was not on my list. Um, I wanted to me and myself and my family to be healthy. Unfortunately, that was not the case always. I wanted my daughter to listen to everything that I say, and same as my husband. This is still a long-term goal because most of the time doesn't happen. Um, and I think all of us, we have certain goals and we want something from our life. But if we don't really do something about this wish remains on the paper. And so I did. I didn't do anything about them. I was just wishing for a perfect life, and my life was not so perfect. But I knew that there are other people who managed to achieve those goals. I didn't know what they do and how they do it, but I wanted to understand how. Um, I think courage calls to feel comfortable of being uncomfortable. It's very cozy to stay in bed and not to face your fears, to face your limits. It's warm and cozy. It's no one to judge you and to criticize you. It's no one to push you beyond your limits and to encourage you to go beyond what you can do. And it's a lot of, and that comes a lot from the fear of failure, the fear of unknown, the fear of what will other people say, and how I'm gonna put myself in front of the others. When I told my family and my friends that I want to start making cakes and pursue other opportunities outside the corporate world, um, the first comment I received was that, okay, so let me understand that you have two bachelor degrees in economics, you have an MBA in finance for which you worked 10 years, and now you want to start baking cakes. And that question came from a person that I was expecting support and more than this challenge. And I said, yes, I want to start baking cakes. Um, when I started my business, I thought I'm doing it because of my daughter. To make a short story, she was suspected of having celiac disease, which is autoimmune disorder caused by gluten. And we did a lot of medical tests, and she had to follow a very strict gluten-free diet. So we had to find something to eat. And from that, we started a lot of products that we found in the shops and we didn't like them. So we started to bake at home and really cook gluten-free at home. And from that, having friends invited for dinner that really like my cakes and then other orders. And now I'm teaching others how to bake gluten-free cakes. Um, Actually, after I'm thinking now about it, was not about my daughter, it was about me. I always had the idea to do something different. I think the medical condition of my daughter was just the trigger to try something different, to change it, to go for my passion and my dream. Um, what I've learned is that courage is nothing that really taking small steps towards your goals. And here you really have to focus on the journey, not on the end result. Because if you focus only on the end result, you're just losing yourself in a lot of thoughts and you're losing the joy of what you are doing. And that I was looking. I was looking to do something with passion and to really enjoy every single day of my life. And when I was in the corporate environment, yes, I really loved what I was doing, but was that kind of sparkle that was not there, and I could not find it there, no matter what I was trying to do. I was trying to get more projects, and I had to wait because I was always getting more projects. I wanted to work with other people that, again, I had to wait because also other people, they wanted to work with them. So um, starting my own business, I realized that the corporate environment creates a lot of structure in our life. Imagine yourself that you go on the Monday morning in the office and you already have few emails from your boss, either you like it or not, to give you some task for a new project that you'll be working. You have an invitation for a meeting later during the day. And this creates a direction, a way where you should land later. It creates planning and structure and timing. When you start as an entrepreneur, you are missing a lot of this. And being an entrepreneur is totally opposite at how it is to work in the corporate environment where it's quite safe. You go to the office, you work from 9 to 5, ideally. At the end of the month, you get money in your bank account, no matter if you're ill that month or you didn't work enough on the project or if things didn't happen as you expected to do. On the entrepreneurship side, as Nicole said earlier, it's a lot much work and it's a lot of different perspectives. You are working, and I was ill actually in February, and for 3 weeks I didn't do anything, and I could of course see that on my bank account the effect. Um, so missing the structure, I start to try to make the structure by myself. And I start putting a task in my calendar. And on the moment when I did that, I realized that the day has only 24 hours, and all the tasks that I want to do are too much of filling in that day. So I had to start prioritizing, and I'm doing that now as well. I'm trying to focus on what it's 80-20, and what is must to have, not nice to have, because there are a lot of things which are important in life, not just focusing on everything and pleasing everyone. The good news was that if one day I didn't want to do what I was scheduled in my calendar to just try to change something, I could just go back to bed, to the comfort zone, and just stay there, and the next day starting over. Comfortable feels safe. It's familiar and predictable. But it's not safe on longer term because we become mediocre and it makes us invisible. On the other hand, growth and learning is uncomfortable. We all have ideas, but we keep them to ourselves. We have thoughts, but we stay quiet. We have interest and passion and contribution, but we never bring them to life. We are asking for permission. And I'm asking why, because if I'm looking at my daughter and I'm thinking how we were at kids, when you look at a group of kids, they never miss a leader. They never miss someone to do something naughty. And they have the courage to do everything that comes in their mind, no matter if mommy and papi will get upset afterwards. They don't really care about that. They're just going to do it and have fun. As adults, we somehow miss that on the way, and we try to fit in a label, in a scale, which is according to what the others are thinking about us. It is according to the society. At some point, I realized that to stand out, I have to be vulnerable. And I am vulnerable now, sitting in front of you and speaking about myself. Giving you ideas invites you to criticize my work, to criticize what I'm doing. But I know that I cannot grow if I'm not vulnerable. I decided to stop pretending that I'm not perfect. I'm not strongest as I thought I am. I'm not the best person that is doing what is doing, but I'm learning. And I think, again, having the courage to acknowledge that and having the courage to change it every single day and try to do things differently brings me much more closer to my goal. I do a lot of mistakes and I have a lot of failures on the way. I just that I don't think of them about failures. I think about learning, and if I'm doing I'm testing a recipe at home and it doesn't turn out how it's supposed to be, yes, I screw it up, but I take myself the time to think what happened, why was not the cake a success, how can I do it differently, and it might be that I'm going to do it 10 times. By the time will be, I think, perfect, and then someone else comes and says I don't like the texture of the cake. So I stopped pleasing everyone, and that was really enlightening for me to focus on things that makes me happy and on things that are according to my principles and values, and try to perpetuate that for people in my life as well. I start writing, and I started a blog where I'm sharing my stories. I'm sharing stories which are related to the cake, to the recipe that I'm presenting, and that was really scaring for me. I didn't have the courage to write, and I still have a lot of blog posts which are not published because I didn't like the way it was written. I didn't like the pictures that I made for them. I didn't like a lot of things. But on the moment when I start writing every single day and I start testing recipes every single day, making photos every day of my work, I realized that only doing this, everything is getting better. Everything gets better than was yesterday, than was last week, than was 2 months ago when I decided to do it. So I continue doing it. And all these small successes brings me confidence. The problem I'm seeing here being confident is that confidence will not going to bring me further because it's going to just bring me in situation when I've been before. So I'm not going away from things that I'm feeling comfortable to do it. In order to grow and in order to learn new things, I have to get out of the comfort zone and try it differently. And that even if that differently will not be a success or will not be the perfect way that I think should be, it's okay because that it's a wrong step to teach me how to find the right one. Um, I think life is too short to try to be perfect and to try to show the world the way that the world is expecting you to be. And when I did my blog, I wanted to press the publish button of the blog itself with all the writing that were there for so long, but I didn't because I was rewriting and rephrasing and changing pages and changing pictures over and over again. Um, I was trying to make it perfect, which actually was far away of being perfect. It's not perfect even now as I'm speaking to you. We can spend the night here to tell you how many things I need to do on my website, which is not done yet. But again, I'm trying to focus on things which really matters. I know that I have to work it, but that will come in time. So I finally thought that I have the perfect blog to publish online. So I was sitting in bed with my husband. He was having the laptop and like, do we press the publish button? Like, yes. So we pressed the publish button. And that was horrible because we got an error message on the screen that the domain was not linked correctly with the perfect website I just created. So everything that I thought was perfect was not so perfect anymore. And yeah, um, through my blog, I'm trying to give, I'm trying to share and to teach other people. I'm trying to empower others to feel comfortable to bake a cake, to prepare breakfast with their families, to try something new at home, to spend time with the kids and your partners. And I don't publish those pictures actually when my daughter is baking in the kitchen because is everything is white from the flour. There is eggs and butter and everything on the walls, but she's happy and we are laughing. And we are laughing and remind ourselves about those moments tomorrow and the next days. And then she goes to say to her friends that she did a cake and was horrible, was tasting horrible, but she was having fun with mommy and papi. And that I think it's much more important than how the cake itself was. And that I'm trying to empower people to my blog to really, doesn't matter if you forgot to put the eggs in the cake and the cake turned out to be, really, and the cake turned out to be a disaster. And then when friends came for dinner, they didn't have what to eat. It's a funny moment and I bet you're gonna remember about it ages afterwards and you're gonna share it with a lot of people. It's a memory, which I think is much more valuable that to create a perfect cake that no one will gonna eat it because either it's not good or they do not care. And believe me, when friends come for dinner, they will not gonna look if the cake is cracked a little bit on the top or is not perfectly even or the buttercream is a little bit like shaky in one side. No, they're just gonna care about the time they spend with you and how is that. Um, I have a code for you. It's like give what you have to someone it might be better than you dare to think. Um, Give what you have to someone, it may be better than you dare to think. One lady was asking me for a recipe for the birthday cake of her daughter, and I gave her one of my recipes. And 2 days later, she wrote me that she tried the recipe and it turned out to be a disaster. So I asked her what she did. So she did exactly what I told her, what exactly all the steps, used exactly the same ingredients, but didn't turn out how it's supposed to be. I was a little bit disappointed, and she was as well. Apparently, she was running out of time, so she needed a solution. I didn't have the solution, so I went back home and I started to make the cake again by myself. It turned out okay, so I didn't know what was wrong. I went back to her and I said, "Can you please make a video of how you are making the cake?" She was really upset, but she eventually did it. And then I saw it. Um, when she was measuring the ingredients, she was using different bowls for measuring the ingredients, which were made of some of the ceramics, some of glass, some of metals. And she didn't, because apparently it was the first time when she was baking a cake, she didn't knew how to balance the scale to be on zero when you put a bowl on it. So actually, she was putting the weight of the bowl in the weight of the ingredients, and that screwed up everything. And sometimes it's about this kind of small things to tell people that you might think that they know everything, but actually they don't, to take them back to the basics. And then she was happy. And I bet the daughter was happy with the cake that her mommy made for her. Um, I have a call to action for you today. I saw a lot of you wrote on what you don't have the courage to do. I want you to think about something you don't feel comfortable, something you want to do for a very long time, and can be anything. Can be reading a book, can be skydiving. I saw some of you, or flying with a balloon, or calling someone that you didn't speak with for a very very long time. Write it down and think about it. Think about the discomfort this situation creates you, and embrace it. And now I would like to ask you to take out your mobile phones, please. Open, please, your calendar and go to the 23rd of April. Yes, it's 1 month from today. And write down the thing that you think about earlier. In this way, having it in your calendar, you know that in 1 month you have to do something about it, and will be there to remind you. On the 23rd of April, when you have that accomplished, think about the joy that having that done brought to you. And if it's possible, repeat it. Oprah was saying that you only get in life what you have the courage to ask for it. Just go and ask for it.